Hi, I'm Stu Davies, ocean caring digital strategist. This podcast dives into the real stories behind ocean caring brands, organizations, and ocean tech innovators. Welcome to A Drop in the Ocean. Each episode explores the wins, challenges, and lived experiences of people working to protect our seas, from grassroots campaigners to global initiatives, and from early stage ocean tech to large scale conservation programs. But this is more than just storytelling. Along the way, we'll also connect these change makers with experts in marketing, communications, AI, storytelling, and strategy, sharing practical insights to help all of us amplify our impact. One drop in the ocean becomes many. Let's make some waves together. And welcome to the next episode of A Drop in the Ocean. And I'm very, very excited about today's guest. So we always said we would do a little bit of a mixture of having people who are working in the coalface in ocean caring organizations, but also experts, digital experts in their field who have an affinity with the ocean. So I'm really delighted to introduce Mary Kemp from AI Potential. And Mary is an AI transformation specialist. Mary, welcome to the show.
Oh, so lovely to be here. I'm very happy to be one of your drops in the ocean.
Okay. And we really, really wanted to dig deeper into the world of AI. It's been such a huge change just this year on how digital works, how search works, how campaign works. And I wanted to get somebody in who knew what they were talking about to help our audience navigate this path. And you were highly recommended.
Oh, no pressure.
So just quickly tell us just a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do, Mary.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, I have to fess up. I'm not a native to the digital scene and to AI. Actually, we pivoted into it. So my background is we've had our own company for 20 years or so. I don't want to count that up. And our specialism was business development, and we worked in kind of large corporate America. So we ended up through referrals out there, and that was our base. About 2.5 years ago, we heard this thing about AI. Maybe it's interesting. There was a big piece of work we used to do for our clients, a deep dive into an avatar or an ideal client persona. We used to take the team 4 to 6 weeks. We thought, and AI replicated that piece of work even then in under an hour.
Wow.
And I hate saying this, and it did it better than us. And at that point, we thought we might have got a little bit upset. We saw the AI writing on the wall, and we thought, well, we have a choice to make. We can sit here and wait, or we can pivot. So we pivoted and didn't look back, really.
Right,
Been running hard ever since.
Right. Yeah. Brilliant. It's been such transformation in our industry. So we're delighted to have you here. But before we dig into that, I'd like to know about your ocean connection. So I'm going to ambush you with a question that I don't actually send to you in the pre-questions. Oh, no. And the question is, could you please share with us your fondest memory of the ocean?
I absolutely can. So I'm actually a New Zealander, and in New Zealand, you're never far from the coast. So my family had we call them a batch, which I think originates from bachelor pad, but it's really common for a family to have a beach house. There's a lot of coast in New Zealand, and I can remember walking down to the beach, and I would have been about 10, and I was looking out over the waves, and then I could see shapes in the waves. And I thought, even at that age, that's too big to be dolphins. And it was orcas playing in the waves. Wow. So that has never left me.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that with us. The shapes in the waves were orcas. And that leads us on to, what's your connection to the ocean or coastal life? Obviously you've grown up in a very ocean environment. What does it mean to you?
Well, it's everything actually. It's a majority of the planet is covered with water, but we know very little about it. And until recently, we've just harvested it. We haven't cared for it. And unless we change that, some people talk about it as, the Amazon is the lungs of the planet, and that is kind of our heartbeat. Everything goes from there. And it's like we're sitting in our little lounges and we're all fine, not realizing that crisis will affect every single one of us. and that the best time to do it was years ago. The next best time is to sort of that now. And it's an emergency.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I've been following very closely a lot of ocean caring organisations, some of which you've had on this podcast, especially some of the work that Oceana are doing, which is extremely interesting. We are hoping to have Alex Elliott from Oceana on the podcast soon. That's a nudge, Alex.
That would be exciting. Listening. Alex, you should definitely come on here. It's lovely.
But what ocean and environmental issues matter to you personally? Which organisations are you following?
So I am getting into marine biology by osmosis. So my oldest is 21 and he's always been everything about oceans. So he's always been about oceans, and his email address is actually Orca. So when he was very little, we were at Whale Fest in Brighton, and we met Ingrid Visser there, who's known for her pioneering orca work in New Zealand. And so that kind of hooked us in ever since. He's now becoming a professional rock pooler. So he's actually studying marine biology. He's in his second year, which means I get to go some really interesting places. So I was speaking to, the sister organisation for BAS, the British Antarctic Survey, and they've and actually it turns out we might be able to go and have a look around Bodie McBoatface, which is really cool. So so I would say that beach cleanups and all of that kind of thing, but really for me it's about protecting the food chains in the ocean, and stopping the illegal fishing and the bottom trawling and all of the kind of things that we do. We've destroyed these ecosystems. What can we do to rebuild them?
Yeah, exactly. I'm always interested in probably to use a better phrase, but the gateway drug into ocean conservation. And often it could be attending a beach clean or going to a conference. And you never know where that is going to lead.
No, we went to a great talk with, is it the Black Shepherds that, what is it? The shepherd boat that went into Antarctica and tried to stop them fishing and things back in the day. I'm trying to remember the big name, but it's just I kind of feel lazy because we've got these amazing activists out there doing all of this work and we're benefiting.
Yeah. So Sea Shepherd, I think.
Sea Shepherd, that's what I was trying to remember.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to come into the digital expert topic now. So we're going to talk about AI. There's no hiding from it. There's no putting our heads in the sand anymore. It's here now. So, when you're introducing AI to, a purpose-led business, where would you even start? How would you approach that?
So it's great. It's actually really straightforward. You start with the people. So purpose-led organizations are brilliant to work with. And although we haven't, we haven't worked with Sea Shepherd or anything like that, we have done a lot of work with not-for-profit organizations and purpose-led organizations like Save the Children and things like that. So it's all about the people. So I think you get confused when it comes to AI because all you think is big tech. But in actual fact, it's not a tech issue at all. Gen AI is a skill. And just like any skill, you need the space to learn it. And the biggest thing is creating a psychologically safe environment that people feel like they know the rules of engagement. They've had some training. There is shared knowledge, and they feel safe and curious. So actually, when you go into an organization, there's the people side. But then the biggest mistake that we see made is, I think we're coming out of the end of the disappointment cycle now, which is businesses have been like, okay, great, everyone, right, we're going to do AI. And they give them all accounts and they set them up and then they're waiting for the magic to happen. And then a year later, they're like, oh, we've got people using AI, but I told you to use AI. Are you using AI? There's no productivity up. There's no, cost savings. There's no increased revenue. So they're like, okay, so we told you what to do. Are you doing AI properly? So it's that kind of thing that we now, and so organizations that we might have spoken to a year ago are now like, how you said you could help us? And I said that we've got it. Could you come and help us, please? So fundamentally, ignore AI. What I would say, completely forget about it. What are your business priorities? What are the problems you're facing that are slowing you down? And then see if AI can help. So match it up to a particular use case, and measure. Is it working? Is there any unintended consequences? At the same time as upskilling your people, that basic AI literacy. Just do those two things. It will unlock everything.
Yeah, I know. And this is, this is marketing 101 and also business ops 101. Always step back. What is our objective? What are we trying to achieve? What's our angle? Then you start looking at the channel and the technology. I know a lot of, certainly a lot of like small or mission-driven teams are nervous about using AI because they might lose their authenticity or their empathy, or they feel nervous about how their audiences might respond to if they're using AI-generated content or tools. How can we help them?
How long have we got? Because I can spend a lot of time on this topic. So I think it's, people don't care if you use AI. They don't care. What they care is if it looks like you've put no thought into it. So this is about augmentation, not abdication. So when you're looking through LinkedIn, you'll be hit in the face by loads of AI generated posts. They stand out a mile away. What you're not seeing is the people that have used it appropriately, that have got it to do most of the heavy lifting, and then they've made it their own. So it's that authentic piece that matters. There's no problem if you do all of your research and even write your emails and your processes and everything with AI, as long as you as a human go back and make sure it's your own. So it's important to remember that AI works for you and not the other way around.
Yeah. Can we give a practical example just for this, so we can illuminate our audience?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you 3 rules that you'll use when you're using AI. First of all, ask the right question. So a question is just a prompt. So the more experience you've got, the better the question you ask. So at this stage, it's people that are mid to late stage career that get the best from it, because you know how to ask a better quality question. And if you don't know the question to ask it. You don't need to be a prompt engineer. It is. So you can say, I'm trying to put together a social community campaign to get people out of their beds on a Saturday morning to do a beach clean. What question should I ask you to get that best result? So you can be quite meta. It will do it for you. Step number 2, drown it in context. So AI is just a pattern seeking machine. All it's doing is a likelihood that the next word or the next pixel it gives you is correct. So if you give it a lot of information about what you're looking for, then it can create a better pattern. So the more context you give it, the better. And you can say, what information do you need from me to give me the best answer? And please, 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 everyone, talk to it like a human. Imagine you've got your PA standing there. You now have a digital assistant. Talk to it exactly the same way that you would talk to a person explaining the problem. They operate best on conversational language.
Yeah, wow.
So do say please and thank you. Actually, data says when you use please and thank you, you get better output.
And when Skynet takes over,
yes.
You're a useful human. You were nice. You can sweep.
Yes. Yeah. Don't get grumpy at it. Yeah. Stay on its good side. So first of all, ask the right question. Second of all, drown it in context. And third of all, review and improve. So now say, act as a marine biologist that's an expert in cetaceans, review and improve this copy. So you can use a person or a role, but always, because then you're giving it additional constraints and it will take it from a 5 out of 10 answer to an 8 to a 9 out of 10 answer. So just those 3 basic things will make a massive difference in your output.
Yeah. I was at a talk and someone said, you should treat when you're using AI interfaces as in they're a new colleague who's just arrived for the first time. And
right.
They're an expert, but they know nothing about you or nothing about your business and nothing about your tone and campaign. So I think that's wonderful advice. What's definitely needed, and someone who's listening, is they might need to mindset shift themselves or their stakeholders and how they use AI as a creative partner and not a threat How do you help organizations navigate that thought process?
So it's tricky because there's internal and external. So a lot of organizations are worried about the optics of how it looks externally and how their clients are going to ask them about it. So I always advise transparency. So be very clear about where you're using it and where you're not. Depending on the kind of organization you are, you can have people saying, well, surely you used AI, so therefore it will cost me less because you did it faster. That's not happening much yet, but it will start to come through. So to be ahead of that. So making sure that you're articulating your value properly so that you're not swapping time for money. They're paying for the transformation.
Yeah.
So there's that external piece. Internally, it's about having really clear guidelines for your people to play. So I kind of talk about the 2 Ps, which is really basic. Public data. Are you happy if it was posted on the internet or ended up on LinkedIn? In that case, as an organization, you can use any model you want. As soon as it's private, so proprietary, personal, identifying, then you must only use the model that you've decided that has the security. And generally for most organizations, that will be Microsoft. So that will be Copilot or Gemini if you're a Google house. But really clear, and don't hide it in your policy. So you might have a fantastic AI policy. None of your people are going to read it. The do's and don'ts, print out on an A4, stick it up on the wall somewhere. Do use this model for this. Don't use this model for that.
Nice, I like that, yeah.
Really clear. So everyone knows the rules of engagement because people are really worried about messing up, which means they won't touch it at all.
Okay. Yeah, so some really, really clear boundaries. And just to explain to the audience, there are two kind of main models of AI you will come across in your day-to-day. One is the public model that, ChatGPT, Perplexity, it's available in search browsers. And then there is the model that you customize yourself and you put walls around. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how that works? So not everyone would have come across that.
So there's loads of different, so they're called large language models or Gen AI. And the one that burst onto the scene at the end of 2022 was ChatGPT. Everyone else is catching up. So people know that a lot, but in the business world, generally they'll be using Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, or Gemini, which lives in Google. So the difference between those is, and I think it's also the difference between a free plan and a paid plan. So the rule of thumb generally is that on a free plan, you are the product. So they're taking your data and they're using it to train the machine. It doesn't mean necessarily your data is immediately flooding the internet, but from a business perspective, you would not want anything that was inside the business going out on those models. Whereas when you're using Copilot, for example, even on the free plan of Copilot, as long as you're logging in with your Microsoft credentials, the same as you would use to get into Word and Excel and Outlook, then your data is secure. It's ring fenced. And that's the biggest thing. So you can then use all of the knowledge within your organization within Copilot. And Copilot I didn't used to recommend it. It's still lagging behind the bunch, but it's getting better. And there's no way that Microsoft is going to, they're not going to want to be last.
They're not short of a penny.
No, they're the biggest company in the world and they actually own 50% of ChatGPT. So Copilot is a restricted version of ChatGPT and it will, AI is the worst it will ever be today.
And you can create an internal AI. You can train it just to, say, answer questions about your employee handbook or your employee policies, and it will stay within those boundaries.
Yeah. So there's lots of tools like that. A great tool, if you're within the Google realm, and even if you're not, is to look at Notebook LM. Right. So for anyone that's in the research space, Notebook LM is exactly what you're talking about. It's a database that you can call on, but it's very clever. You can put up to 300 different sources in there. You could say, I'm interested in whales, for example, if you're not specialist, or you might say cetaceans if you fancy. But it will go off to the internet and find all of that and bring it in. But you can also put all of your own internal documents in there, even cut and paste. So you can anyone on your team, if you're a research team, can go and say, what was the hypothesis that Max was looking into? And it's in there and you can pull it out. Yeah. It's also very cool. It will make a podcast podcast from it, a video overview, a mind map, whatever you want. It's absolutely crazy.
Wow. Okay. That's an amazing tool. So that does segue nicely into tools. Can you share with the audience just a few practical, simple AI tools or use cases to transform everyday work?
Yes, I would. So one of the issues that people hear about AI all the time, because the papers love to sell fear, is it making stuff up. So we'll regularly see things in the paper saying that these solicitors have been disbarred and can never do law again because they relied on false AI, ChatGPT stuff that was churned out. That's not Chat's fault. That's the human's fault. The human is in the loop. It needs to fact check. So the way that AI works is that it's not like a calculator. It's not binary. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in AI world. It's looking for a pattern. And that's, if it can't find a pattern, it won't tell you it can't find a pattern. It will cobble together the one that it thinks fits best. So that's where the hallucinations, aka lying, come up. So always fact check. So you can fact check by saying, I would just say to it, are you lying? And it gets really annoyed. It's like, no, how dare you? Or it says it's for illustrative purposes only. But what I would do is cut and paste it all out and go to Perplexity. So perplexity.ai is built slightly differently, and it's designed for fact checking. It's like Google on steroids. So you can just cut and paste it in, just say fact check this please, and it will go through and bring up all the sources so you can double check the information you're relying on is correct. So perplexity.ai is fantastic for that. I've never needed to upgrade to a subscription, but it's really good for all of that fact checking, deep thought kind of thing. So I definitely recommend that. There's lots of different large language models. Please don't feel the need to become expert in all of them. They all have a learning curve. So find the one that you think works best for you. Feel comfortable on that before you spread your wings and go somewhere else. So choose the model you like the best. They're always at war. One's always releasing one and doing something else. So at the time of this podcast, Gemini is the best for image creation. It's brilliant. So it's really good. Claude seems to be, I love Claude for writing and copy. ChatGPT is kind of all purpose, and Gemini lives really well within Google. Gemini has a massive appetite for information. They call it context window, how much you can give it in a single byte. So the context window on Gemini is huge. So if someone has a huge amount of data or research they want analyzed, then that would be the tool for that. So that's kind of that side. Let's get to some fun tools. So Gamma is amazing. It is kind of well known as being PowerPoint's biggest competitor. They've just had another round of investment. They're huge and going places. It's like ChatGPT for presentations. You can actually just put in a question and it will build the whole deck for you.
Wow.
It's crazy. So I might be a bit of an addict to Gamma.
Right. I'm going to check that one out. I haven't heard of that one.
So Gamma.app. I am not, I'm not getting any referrals for this. But there's so many tools out there the whole time. And the thing is not to stay up with them. So they talk about the U-shaped adoption curve. So before you start playing with AI, you're hugely anxious. It's coming from my job. What's it going to mean? This is all really scary. What if I'm left behind? And I can tell you none of those things are true, but that's fine. And then you kind of get a bit more skilled and you're like, okay, I've got it now. And then as you get a little bit skilled, you think, oh my goodness, I need to keep on upskilling myself and staying ahead. And there's so many new tools and now I feel like I'm behind. So it's a really interesting adoption curve that people go through. Okay. So please don't try and stay up with all of them. No. Find someone in the industry that you think is an advanced user and see what they're up to and ask and see what people are using and finding useful. Because AI, we're still in the space where it'll overpromise and underdeliver in a lot of cases.
Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, there's so many use cases and there are so many tools, but I think, as you said, you know, you've just got to pin it to what you actually need to achieve, and then baby steps towards it, and use them. Use them wisely, use them slowly, use them safely.
Yeah, because it's meant to save you time. And the problem is that when you get sucked down the AI rabbit hole, you can actually realize that you're wasting a lot of time. So where is it helping you? Where do you feel comfortable? Start there and then start to spread your wings.
Okay, brilliant. So we're going to take a small break now. And then when we come back, we're going to talk more about this fascinating subject of AI. You're listening to A Drop in the Ocean, the podcast that brings together ocean changemakers and digital experts, helping us all amplify our impact. If you're listening to this and thinking, we're doing important work, but our digital strategy just isn't quite landing, that's exactly what I help you with. Find me at stu-davies.com. So welcome back to part 2 of A Drop in the Ocean. With me, I've got AI transformation specialist expert, Mary Kemp. I've already learnt so much in the last 20 minutes. And we got another 20 minutes more of being able to extract information from Mary's brain. Mary, so I think it's just, let's talk about a sticky subject around AI, and that's kind of the people and potential bit around it. And we took, you talk about AI helping us be more human, but what does that look like in practice?
Yeah. So what that looks like in practice is that some of the repetitive tasks that we do on a day-to-day basis, you can now hand off to your digital team. So for most people, 80% of the time is spent doing low-value tasks that feel like work to get to the 20% that doesn't, that they could do all day and they're in flow. So the whole goal with AI is to reverse that. So 80% of the time people are doing their highest value, strategic, innovative, creative work, and they've handed off most of those repetitive tasks to AI to handle for them. So we're releasing them and actually getting their work-life balance back or allowing them greater capacity. So that's the goal.
Yeah, and it's increasing the quality of production of workers. I mean, that is a capitalist term. I realise, but it's increasing our potential to be better, because I'm going to give you an SEO example, because that is my trade. Previously, if you had a big website, you would have to sit there and allocate keywords, and then you would be writing a lot of what I call the SEO inventory, and it's a lot. It's a big spreadsheet, and you're writing all of these things. There are AI tools now. As long as it's trained properly, you can do it in 5 minutes. A task that might have taken a day. And you're spending the time analysing it and looking more about is that the right search term? Is that the right intent? And you're spending more time on that than actually, having somebody to write it all out. So
no, I love that. And don't get me started on GEO, which is taking over, which is AI optimization. But just if you're listening to this and you're thinking, what is she talking about? Just ask AI and it will tell you all about it and do a review of your website based on how much AI likes it.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, because I talk about being more human, because what it does is it lifts that drudgery off us so that you can actually do the stuff that you got into your job to do. So we were talking to an employee the other day, and he said, what's really frustrating is they'll do a great job description, they'll get a great person and bring them on, and the job description's got all this great stuff in it. But actually, once they're embedded in their work, they very often, for most job descriptions, you never get to do the big stuff that you wanted to do. And he's like, we hired this person for all of their skills, but actually they're having to work through all the lower level stuff, and that job description becomes aspirational, not actual. And he's like, wouldn't it be amazing if that job description was actually what people did?
I remember a friend of mine once told me that 99% of all office jobs can be boiled down to answers emails, create spreadsheets.
Yeah, it's about right.
What have you learned through your AI transformation work about trust, collaboration, and creativity with teams? Like how it's transformed that?
It opens up so many options for them. So if we even think about the HR side, so HR, there were always, and I think no human wants to be called a resource. But they always got into it to be people person, not policy person. And this is putting the people back in HR. So actually, they can create, so from an HR perspective, there's so many things they can do. They no longer have to be that email, how many weeks have I got for maternity leave and things like that, because they can set up AI to answer all of those questions very easily. But then what often happens in those situations is that as people, we kick problems down the road. So we might have some difficult conversations to have, which we put off, and then we know what happens there. By the time the volcano's smoking, it's too far gone. Whereas AI can help people navigate those conversations. You can practice what you're going to say. You can look at the issues that you've got. You can use AI to vent and or validate, remembering, of course, that AI is set up to tell you you're brilliant, and that's the best idea that anyone's ever had in the world. So you do need to correct for that. But there's all sorts of ways in which it can be used that support people and what we do every day, so that we're able to accelerate what we do. So, for example, the younger generation, Gen Zs, millennials, were not all over AI because actually for them, it's far more of an existential threat. They don't have the area of expertise, which makes them feel a little bit more vulnerable. But the areas in which it's being used massively is for mental health. So we give a lot of support to charities, and what we hear across the board is that those people are using it to navigate and get support, therapeutic help, coaching help, because it's just, there's no, the NHS just isn't there for that anymore. So, and actually ChatGPT, 70% of its use is in personal life.
Right. Okay. So, that's interesting.
Yeah. So actually it's a huge, so people use it to navigate. It's becoming a personal assistant. And it's a safe place to play too. So there's all sorts of, apart from it being a task monster, it can actually be really good at helping support us as humans as well when we use it in the right way, and help us get out of our own way, because we're really good at doing that.
Yeah, indeed. So, Mary, please, I bet you've got a lot of stories of businesses, organizations that have embraced AI and surprised you with the results and what they've done. Can you please share some of those with us?
Yeah, so we do actually. There's a fantastic charity in Brighton called Together Co, which is one of the loneliness charities. And we trained them right back December 2023, and they have taken it and run with it. They've set up some little automations. One of their pinch points was they had, waiting lists for onboarding volunteers. So you can befriend people, and it's all about human contact. But there was a human that was onboarding the volunteers, and it was quite a complex process. So it could take weeks, and they had volunteers waiting. They would have to wait for ages to be paired and onboarded. Now with AI, that's not a problem at all. So because they've been able to use AI to take off some of the task work, they're now able to be far more human. They're able to apply for far more funding. And they're in a much better position now. And I mean, that's not all down to AI, that's down to leadership. But they're in a much better position now because they embrace and move forward, and they're actually sharing their journey with other charities in the area as much as they can, because actually AI, the larger the organization, the slower the change. So the space that we're in now is the more nimble organizations are the ones that are able to punch well above their weight and lean into this much faster. Okay,
that's super interesting. And a lot of our audience are marketing, communications campaigners. What, like case studies or, advice would you give to that audience in terms of, tools or methods that they could use to really help them, amplify their impact?
There is so much out there. So there's so many scheduling tools. There is amazing tools like CapCut and things for video. So video is still king. And there's, for anyone that's uncomfortable on camera, you've got HeyGen, which is really good AI avatars. The other thing it gives you is multiple language support. So, none of that's a barrier anymore. But I would say actually, let's go back to basics, and we need to make sure that we're doing problem solution, not the other way around. So there's multiple studies, and MIT put a study out, I think probably about 2 months ago, showing that 95% of Gen AI implementation failed. And that is because they were not identifying use cases. They weren't checking how it worked. And what they uncovered was that most AI use was in emails and copy and reports. But actually the biggest uplift is in back office tasks. That's where they'll actually get capacity and time back. Wow. So it's often hidden things that you don't think about. You go for the obvious things. It's hidden things. And for any organization of any size listening to this, there are 2 things you need, just basic things. One is that you need a prompt repository. So where amongst the team, they've got a few prompts that they use that really work. You need to store them locally. You need to share that knowledge, because what's happening is that everyone's learning AI in their own silo. They're being self-taught. They don't know what good looks like. They just know what they do. And that is not being shared. And as adults, 50% of our learning comes from other adults. So just by having a prompt library, doesn't need to be fancy, spreadsheet, Word doc, whatever you want, but you're collating that knowledge is really important.
Can you give us an example of a prompt?
Yep, I can. I can. But you might say, act as the head of PR for Saatchi & Saatchi and create a go-to-market campaign for our fundraising offer that we're doing. So you might do it a little bit and what I might do to chat is I might say, I'm going to ask you to act as a fundraising expert in this area, and this is what I'm trying to achieve. What should I ask you to get it? And then chat will say 100 times better than me. And then what you would do is, what often happens is you iterate in the first. So you're like, no, that bit's not right, but that bit's good. And iterate on the prompt until you've got it where you want it to be. And then you would put it in your library and you would, you might tag it as strategic. Or whatever it is. Or you can say, I love the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. Here's all the information. You've got all the information about our business. Please apply all of the knowledge from that book to our business. So it has a flywheel and the hedgehog principle, and it will apply it all and tell you exactly how you can actually put it into action. Because for a lot of those books, they're brilliant, but they become conceptually like, that's a great idea, but there's no way of implementing it. Well, now you have a consultant that will implement it for you, and customize it completely to your organization. So, and then you might say, well, here's our 9-month plan. How do I overlay that, with the concepts of this book so that we can put them into play? So it's all that kind of thing. So you would store that knowledge. Second thing you need is an AI huddle. Sounds American. An AI meeting. So once a week.
We do have an American audience.
Fine. Okay. So a huddle then. So you might, do it once a week, or definitely once, every 2 weeks or fortnight. If you're English, I love messing up the Americans with the word fortnight. They don't know it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And 15 to 30 minutes where it's optional, but everyone comes and shares what's working, what's not working, what have they discovered, any new tools, all of that kind of thing. So, and that serves 2 purposes. It creates that safe environment, but it also makes it very clear to everyone in the organization that AI is at the top of the agenda. Because what you don't inspect, you don't respect. So just those 2 things for any organization can accelerate them massively.
Wow, that's fantastic. So AI for Good.
Yes.
There is an organization called AI for Good. I've been to some of their meetups in Brighton. Please share some AI for Good examples where we can see AI doing amazing things for wonderful organizations and people.
So there's some amazing things going on in oceanography. So they're trying to decode a sperm whale's language.
Wow.
They're using AI. I think they've found that they have 156 different phonemes. Actually, they're saying it's quite complex, not dissimilar to human language. So the goal is, and this sounds very Dr. Dolittle, is that we actually understand their language so that we might actually be able to communicate with them. Wow. So they're doing that with sperm whales. They're also, not ocean related, but they're trying to do it with dogs as well, which I think is, this just blows my mind. AI just hurts my head. The other, and there's so many cool examples, but the other one is the Great Garbage Patch in the Pacific. So they've partnered with AWS. They're using AI in tracking so they can go where the garbage is. And I think they've picked up 30 million tons now. But they're able to get to a lot more and a lot faster. So they're able to clean it up in a fraction of the time if they weren't using AI.
Wow, some amazing use cases. Now, we do have to talk about this.
Yes.
We need to talk about digital sustainability, and we need to talk about how power hungry AIs, the data centers are. That a lot of data centers are burning fossil fuels, and a lot of data centers are being built in water starved regions and are taking that water away. So it's a tricky topic. The genie is out of the bottle, but is there anything that anybody can do to reduce their own impact, tools or?
There's a lot, and there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So it's right about the evaporation towers. So the issue is where they put them. So that big story kind of came out of Arizona, where they've got big data centers. Arizona is desperately hot and water poor, and they used evaporation towers for that. Which sucks the rivers dry. In the UK, actually, we use closed system. So think of it like the heating system in your house. You fill it up with water once and you hope you don't have any leaks. And that's it. So a data center on average in the UK, one of the closed circuit ones, uses the same as a family of 4 would use in water in a year. But it uses it once. So it's in there and it's done. So from a water perspective, the systems, the data centers that we use in the UK are actually very good from that perspective. Yes, but when we come down to energy use, again, we need to be really aware of it. However, it may not be as scary as we think. So a day on AI, you will use less energy than you do watching Netflix for an hour. If you fly transatlantic, you'll use more energy there than you'll ever use with AI in a lifetime. So it's not saying that just use it as much as you want to. It's just putting it in perspective. So one of the things we talk about is frugal AI. And actually a lot of charities will have use AI when you have to. So don't drive your Rolls Royce to the corner shop. So frugal AI, and one of the ways to be frugal with your AI is the prompt libraries and is workflows, because what you're doing then is getting to the best result you can and the shorter number of questions. Because, if you can write a PR crisis campaign and you can do it in 2 prompts and AI spits it out for you because you've done that a couple of times before and you now have a process, that's going to be a lot more efficient than if you're just going, oh no, can you just change this? And can you just change that? It'll not just save energy, but it will save your time. So it's about thinking about that frugal AI and putting some system around it. You'll notice when you go on Google that it automatically defaults to AI and will give you AI answers. If you'd rather not have that, then ask the AI and there's a little button and you can turn it off so that doesn't happen automatically. So you can be very intentional around your use of AI.
Yeah, okay. It's been the scourge of SEO, the AI overviews.
Yes,
there's also a tool called GreenPT, which is, I think, a Dutch company, and it's a variant of a ChatGPT model, and all of their data centers are hosted on renewable power energy.
There's going to be
centers.
A lot of that coming, and we've got some really good models coming from Europe.
Yeah, and there is a chap I know. He's got a business called Deep Green, and he helps rescue community swimming pools by putting data centers underneath and uses the water to cool the data center. I don't quite know how it works. I don't think you're swimming above a server, but then that heats the water. So I know he's expanding in the UK as well, and he does hosting, so you can host your environments with them. So Mary, unfortunately, we have run out of time. This is the final question. So I've got one final question for you. What's one small but mighty action an organization could take this week to use AI more wisely and work more humanly?
Oh no, No, I've already said my biggest answers, but I think it's actually just checking in with their people and seeing how they're feeling. And also, so one of the big things that they can do is be really excited by the skeptics in the organization. We call them meerkats. They're generally standing on their hind legs. They're doing a 360-degree risk analysis. If you push them, they are never going to engage. If you allow them space and allow them to get inspired, they'll generally switch over to be your greatest champions. So don't be freaked out by skeptics. They're a massive opportunity. Be excited and allow everyone to come along at their own speed. So inspire them, give them the opportunity. And that even if you just do a quick lunch and learn, or if you've got somebody in your organization who is kind of an obvious champion, they're the ones that are always saying, please can I have this tool? And I've done this great thing with AI. Give them a platform, allow them to share the impact of what's actually happening so that you're intentionally building your AI culture. Because if you aren't building your AI culture, it'll be built for you and you won't like it.
Wow. Okay. Mary, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. We could probably do a whole series just on AI. So, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time on A Drop in the Ocean.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to A Drop in the Ocean, helping us all amplify our impact. New episodes will be available from your streaming platform of choice. Please like, review and share to help us spread these messages. See you next time.